Welcome back, my friends, to the podcast that never ends. Yes, this is the Blue Day podcast, and for Chelsea fans everywhere, every day is a blue day. And oh boy, we are feeling the blues today after what happened yesterday. I am your host, the creator, the man with a face for podcasting, Keith Lawrence, and joining me this week is a good friend of the show, a man who has seen both the highs and lows of Chelsea Football Club throughout his life and making his first team debut for the podcast. Here's Richard. Richard, welcome to the show. I would ask,
Hi there,
how
Keith.
are you? But I'd probably imagine what the answer would be after what happened yesterday.
Sick as a horse. I'm still brushing myself down after yesterday. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. Yeah, I mean, losing to Liverpool, it's always a bitter pill to swallow. And even more so yesterday when obviously we had all the antics of Liverpool booing the national anthem and come abide with me.
We'll start with that in a minute. Yeah,
it kind of just makes the whole thing unsavoury, makes it worse for me. But there we go.
Let's start with that because let's get the crap out of the way before we start talking about the good stuff. It was my first FA Cup final. I know you've been to a few, and then obviously Abide with Me is one of the iconic themes that you hear at the FA Cup final, and everybody 99% of the time pays respect to it. Yesterday, I was appalled when I heard the boos. I was shocked in the League Cup final when they
did the same.
Did exactly the same and booed the national anthem. And even yesterday was just much worse. The good thing about yesterday was when they started booing, but it was drowned out by Chelsea fans on the other side singing the national anthem with pride.
With loud and proud.
Loud and proud. But what I wanted to sort of talk about and bring it up on the show was the fact that no media has brought it up. No TV media, no newspapers. I think there's one from the Daily Mail that partly mentioned it about Prince William being booed, which I thought was quite a shock as well.
Yeah.
And you've got all these Liverpool lovies that think the sunshine shines behind their backside, and you're thinking to yourself, you wonder why people don't like you as a club because you do that. There was no need for it. I understand there's certain reasons behind it, but those reasons are not gratified.
No,
in an FA Cup final.
Yeah, I've got issues about the way the establishment run this country. I've got sort of I'm always been unhappy with the way this country is run, but I do love this country.
Yes.
And the best way to show it is to sing the national anthem. I really can't see, what Prince William has done.
Yeah.
To deserve being booed like that. And come abide with me. What's that got to do with it?
Yeah.
No, I think Liverpool have this reputation about the national anthem. They've had it for quite some time now, and I personally just think that's Liverpool. It's never going to change. That I don't want to be disparaging, but I think they are different to us sometimes when it comes to things like that. But like I say, I've got issues with the way this country's run. But for God's sake, I'm proud of my country. And the only way to show it is to sing the national anthem, and then let politics sort itself out on the other side, So, but I was pleased that we sang it loud yesterday as well. But of course, you're right. The press, Liverpool always get let off the hook, don't they?
Nothing mentioned on BBC, nothing mentioned on Sky.
Yeah.
You just think to yourself, a lot of them are trying to create news rather than actually report it. But it makes me laugh when there was a couple of news feeds coming through that it just had fans boo Prince William. Well, no. Say it right. Liverpool fans were booing Prince William. Chelsea fans done themselves proud, sung the national anthem with pride, as you said, and we were, again, supporting our country. It did make me laugh. There's a guy behind me who I knew did have a few, because I can smell it from where I was. He was actually singing Maggie Thatcher's name when Liverpool's started to boo and everything else. So that
Right.
was a bit interesting. That's obviously taken aback.
Well, I mean, I can
years
remember back.
ago.
I can remember back during that awful Heysel tragedy, which it's a difficult ground to tread, I suppose. But I seem to remember, not so much the press, but I seem to remember a lot of the local Liverpool press and fans actually had the audacity to imply that Chelsea fans were there creating the violence. I mean, it's obviously a load of bollocks, but I mean, that's the sort of thing we have to put up with when it comes to Liverpool. And the press, as I say, they let them off the hook. There seems to be a loving between the media and Liverpool because of their history and whatever. But it's gone beyond the pale now, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it just annoys me. But like I say, that's up. If Liverpool or Scousers want to, if they're not proud of being, if they're not proud of their country, then that's up to them. Yeah. But they'll have to understand, as you rightly said, that that's probably the main reason that no one bloody likes them.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So come on, Real Madrid.
Yes, exactly.
Come on,
Carlo.
I mean, the way I look at it is that the Champions League final now is being is a match between two teams that don't represent my country. I mean, if you're going to boo the national anthem, you're not representing my country. So come on, Real Madrid. I'm neutral now.
Well, you never know. Eden Hazard might be fit for that game and might score the winner. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be sweet.
It was, as you mentioned about with it being sweet, it was partly bittersweet yesterday, getting knocked out on penalties in the final, as it was in the League Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
But the team selection was interesting because a lot of people were wondering, is Tuchel going to start with Lukaku or Havertz? Is Kovacic going to be back? And I remember I was entering the ground when the team news came in, and a lot of people were delighted that Kovacic was starting, but one name that was completely off the sheet was Havertz.
Yeah, Havertz.
And a lot of people were surprised and wondering, as Tuchel lost the plot. We'd find that out later with certain subs, but Lukaku started. Did you think that was a good idea, good decision for Lukaku to start? He has been in form a little bit. Was you surprised? Obviously, with what we know now with Timo, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Was you happy with the team selection from yesterday?
Well, as usual, on the social side, we got to the ground quite late. So we didn't have a lot of time to sort of digest the team selection, which is always our social culture these days. But obviously, once in the ground, I had a feeling Lukaku would start anyway because of his recent performances, and I thought, well, okay, I kind of get that, but I really would have preferred Havertz. He was brilliant in the Carabao Cup final, and it worked so well with him then. So obviously, when we got in the ground, and I just assumed that Havertz. I didn't check the bench. I just assumed that Havertz would come on at some stage. Yeah. And then obviously, as the game progresses and the subs are being made, I'm getting informed that Havertz had been pulled out because of a hamstring. I thought, oh, bloody hell, right, okay, well, I suppose there was no option but to play Lukaku. But, of course, the reason we would have preferred Havertz is down purely to what we saw from Lukaku yesterday. I mean, it was another, it was just ineffective.
Where I was sitting up in the gods, unfortunately, after paying over 100 bloody quid.
Yeah, I was up there as well.
I was expecting a little bit closer to the pitch for that
pair of
price.
binoculars would have come in handy.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it's me or whether it was my view of the game. He seems to have put on weight again. He looks very stocky. And there was a guy in front of me, and he surprisingly wasn't pissed. He turned around and said, I thought Akinfenwa was playing for us for a minute. Now,
the ultimate insult.
now, at first I was thinking, nah, come on, give Lukaku a break. But as you said, how he played, he was up against Van Dijk. Van Dijk didn't break sweat.
No.
And Lukaku just didn't look like he could run. There's a few of them that were like that, which we'll touch on later. But he just didn't look like he had the pace. He didn't look like
Lukaku is a massive disappointment. Even with the goals he scored recently, I mean, I've noticed a lot of Chelsea fans are thinking, maybe this is the turning point. But I think there is no turning point. Just like him on the pitch, really, there is no turning point. I think
there's one, but we might mention that later when he made the subs. But I think there's one that will probably turn it for him. But I agree with Lukaku.
I mean, obviously that. Yeah, I mean, let's cut to the chase here. It was the wrong purchase, really, because Lukaku isn't the right type of player for the way that Tuchel wants to play, tactically. So as a result, we know the way that when he played for Everton, West Bromwich Albion, I remember those days. He was getting balls pumped forward. He was running onto them. He was outpacing quite often defenders. He was obviously younger then, of course, which probably is more significant. And that's the way he plays football. He funny enough, with Belgium, they don't quite do that so much, but they do play to his strengths. And Belgium are obviously a top-class international side that can actually mix it anyway. But we play the same system with Tuchel all the time, and it just doesn't suit Lukaku. And I just don't think it's ever going to work unless, even if I think the biggest problem now is Lukaku is actually now past it. He's past his best. Putting on weight is I don't think that's ever going to become not a problem. I think he's just that type of body build. And then unless he's quick, can turn, has got that predatory instinct like he used to have, he's just not the right player. So I'm quite sort of certain in my mind that he's not ready to start for us next season. And yesterday was, he tried his best. I mean, he did work hard yesterday, but he was ineffective. He was too slow and, as you say, too bulky. He put a couple of balls in him. He found himself out on wide, I seem to remember. He put a ball in which was so lacklustre that he didn't really contribute anything.
I was surprised that he came off, bearing in mind what we was trying to get the goal. And he came off, and as you say, he did try. It weren't a case where he just down tools, but how we played when he came off, I thought we were worse than what we was when he was on the pitch. Very similar to when Mateo Kovacic came off. We looked different. Although Kante made a difference, I thought, in midfield, and he looked to freshen it up. Yeah. And we spoke about it before we started recording. Liverpool looked tired. There was a period where Liverpool looked like they didn't have anything else.
They did look. There was a period where they did look leggy, and I thought this would be a great opportunity. But no sooner had I thought that, than I thought, well, actually, we're looking leggy as well.
Yeah.
And I know Kovacic was starting to look tired. I didn't mind Lukaku coming off. What did we end up with? We had Pulisic,
Mount and Ziyech.
And I thought, well, on their day, those three could be a real handful. And I was expecting, hopefully that they would do something. But I think by then the game was starting to lag. The players were starting to get tired. The movement was getting more turgid. So really, it was a substitute that didn't have any effect whatsoever. But I could understand it a little bit, Lukaku coming off, because I really don't think he was going to offer anything anyway. And of course, we ended up getting into, that last 10 minutes up to 90 was a bit dodgy. Liverpool started to press up again. A couple of Diaz shots, I seem to remember. And then we go into extra time. And I've got to say, that is probably the worst extra time period I've ever watched. I mean, there was hardly any football being played. It was so turgid. I mean, both teams I mean, there were chances, but Chelsea in particular, the second extra time, the second half in extra time, Chelsea were just pretty much dead on their feet.
They were on the ropes.
I couldn't see any movement at all.
No.
And being so high up as we were, you can actually see from that height, how players can move. Yeah. And nothing was happening. There was no movement. The passing was slow. It was sideways. They were obviously playing out for the penalties. So that extra time was horrific. I didn't enjoy that at all.
It was hard to watch, and where I was, because I was by the side where the dugout was, and Tuchel was being animated, of course, with certain decisions. It was quite refreshing to see the referee didn't have a bad game. Normally with FA Cup Finals in Chelsea, the referees either make bad decisions, which cause us to have a knock-on effect when it comes to winning. But I thought the referee didn't have a bad game.
Yeah, I must admit, on social media, I hardly saw any comments about the referee, and that's quite unusual these days.
Well, it's refreshing, and also VAR was hardly used, which, again, I actually thought was quite nice. It made a change. But I want to touch on the substitutions. We obviously talked about Lukaku coming off and Kovacic coming off. Kante looked fresh, although there's still question marks about him, whether or not he's still got it in him, whether or not he could maybe have to adapt his style to be more of a defensive midfielder, whatever.
Yeah.
The subs that came on, I mean, you touched on it just earlier. They didn't give any effect apart from Kante. But you look at Ziyech, Loftus-Cheek, which we'll discuss in a minute.
That was the most intriguing one. Loftus-Cheek.
Wow. Well, let's touch on it. Ruben came on, and I felt it was a good decision to put him on because it might give him a bit of a spark. Because
same here.
He scored in the semi-final. It was a massive relief for him to be part of that because he hasn't scored for so long, and he's been part of the squad for a while now. And he did have that bad injury a couple of years ago. Yeah. I was amazed, probably like many other Chelsea fans, to see him play up front.
Yeah.
That was one I did not expect.
Well, the first thing I thought was, I'm not quite sure whether we're going to see those surging runs that he does when he's more further back in midfield. And of course, what did he do up front? I mean, he stood around.
He couldn't run.
I didn't. Anyone would have thought he'd played 240 consecutive minutes. I mean, he already looked knackered. Well, he wasn't knackered, but he looked knackered.
He looked leggy, looked shattered.
There was no movement. Yeah. And I just thought, I just thought the whole sub was intriguing. And it became even more intriguing, of course, when he then got subbed after 15 minutes to bring Ross Barkley on, which, according to Tuchel, was simply down to the fact that he believed that Ross Barkley would be better at penalties. But something inside me was thinking, if I'm thinking that about Loftus Ruben Cheek, maybe Tuchel's thinking exactly the same.
There's something more into that. But with Loftus-Cheek coming on, again, as you said, didn't mind him coming on. It was the position he was playing. I mean, Christ.
It was strange, wasn't it?
It was a real strange one because...
It was a Ranieri moment.
I don't think nothing could top that, to be fair, in Monaco.
Yeah, sorry, Tuchel, I didn't mean that.
Scott Parker playing right back and Hasselbank playing in midfield.
God, yeah.
As you said, Loftus-Cheek didn't move as much. There was no movement. And when we had the ball out wide and you're expecting the ball to be played quick, Loftus-Cheek was never going to get there for a month of Sundays. And you felt with Van Dijk coming off, you felt if we... I think you say, we missed Havertz. If Havertz played out there and Van Dijk came off, it probably would have been different. But Loftus-Cheek came off, and immediately people were either assuming he picked up an injury. Tuchel doesn't like the fact that he's cut. Why is he doing this to Loftus-Cheek? Why is he doing this at a cup final? It's wrong. I was going to reserve judgment until I hear what Tuchel had to say about it.
Yeah. Well, that's a
But
sensible thing to do.
But then I'm thinking, on the other hand, there must be a reason why you've put the lad on. If needed, keep him in central midfield. All right, if you're thinking about penalties, maybe keep Jorginho on, but then you could maybe put Loftus-Cheek out at wing back.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
just remind me, who did? I'm trying to remember who he took off to bring Ruben on.
It was for Pulisic.
Oh, Pulisic, right? Okay, yeah.
Which I thought was a good decision because
I mean, Pulisic was definitely dead on his feet. Yeah.
He was dead on his feet, but I don't think he played well enough. Personally, no. I know there was a couple of spaces he got, which was good, but we didn't give the ball to him. He had, I think it was in certain areas, a firing Pulisic would have scored first time, but he took too many touches.
Yeah.
But as you said, Loftus-Cheek came on, didn't do much, and in the 120th minute, a guy who has not played for months, not featured for Chelsea for months.
No.
Comes on in the cup final, and everyone's thinking, has Tuchel lost a plot?
Yeah, I must admit, I lost the plot. I certainly lost the plot with what he was doing. Pretty much the last, in that sort of extra time period, and then as the game kind of just lagged and slowed down to almost a halt even before the final whistle. I just thought, well, we're going to have to just depend on penalties now. What will be, will be. But yeah, I mean, to me, Tuchel seemed to have run out of ideas a little bit. I think in the later stages, it's a difficult. I don't know. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Ross Barkley scored his penalty, so you can justify it. I mean, I don't know. Has Ruben ever scored? Has he scored a penalty? Did he? I think he did. Did he? I can't remember him scoring a penalty.
I'm sure he has scored in a shootout for us before.
Yeah, probably has. Yeah.
In the Europa League, in them shootouts, I'm sure he has. But
to bring Ross Barkley on, who hasn't featured, and then his only contribution would be a penalty, and he must have been nervous about taking it.
Oh God, yeah.
Was a very strange, risky ploy, but that's. I mean, Tuchel is the man who gets paid millions to manage this club. So who am I? Who am I to sort of say he was wrong? But certainly it baffled me.
Was you surprised that Kepa didn't come on? Because there was a few moments I was thinking, is he going to put him on again?
No,
is he going to do the same thing?
I don't. I think Tuchel learned from that. I would have been gobsmacked if Tuchel had made the same tactical switch on the goalkeeper at penalties. I would have been absolutely gobsmacked.
Because I was stunned that he did it in the League Cup final, because I thought Mendy was our best player.
Well, Mendy was on fire that day. I mean, he wasn't so much on fire yesterday, but he still did a couple of good saves. But no. I mean, when Mendy he got his hand to one of the penalties, didn't he? So there were fine margins during that penalty shootout. He was very close to saving that penalty from, I can't think who it was now, but he got a hand to it anyway.
And he pulled off a good save on the decisive one.
Yes, absolutely.
He pulled off a very good save. So then
from Mane. Yeah, Mane's one. Yeah, which is no mean feat, is it, to save a Mane penalty?
No.
So I must admit, at that point, I thought, we're going to win this now.
Yes, I was the same.
Slot it away, Mount. Slot it away. But the one player I do feel for big time is Mason Mount. I mean, he's lost God knows how many domestic cup finals now. He's lost last year.
He's lost
2 this year.
He's every Wembley appearance in finals. He's lost apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rotten record to have tagged on you, isn't it? But he was one player that was busy yesterday. He was one of our best players yesterday. I mean, he's not on top form. He wasn't on top form, but he was. I thought he played well yesterday, and I just felt so sorry for him. He gives it all. But yeah, I feel for him because of that record he's got tagged onto him now.
And plus, in the League Cup final, he hit the post as well.
Yeah,
with the shot that it was trickling. It was like one moment in time. And
but having said that, he has got the Champions League final in his bag, and of course it was his assist, that fantastic pass to Havertz. And that for me will outweigh any of his failures in the domestic cup finals.
That's one positive to look at. I like that. That is one positive to look at. But
rock on, Mason. You'll be fine.
Okay, he's still young. He's 22, 23, and he's won more trophies than Tottenham Hotspur have. So I've got no.
I've won more trophies than Tottenham Hotspur have as well.
Well, I've got no issues with Mason, and anybody that has criticised Mason because of the penalty miss, sort yourselves out.
Come on. Some of the comments on social media last night were absolutely pathetic. I don't know why I read them, but they just come on. But you got some fans
for it. At the end of the day, people say penalties is a lottery. I think penalties should be at least practiced on a regular basis, especially for this moment. And people are going to miss penalties. You're not going to score every single time. You're not. The great Frank Leboeuf. He had a fantastic record, but he missed one.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to have that.
Well, I mean, great players can miss penalties. It's as simple as that. Yes. And of course, bear in mind, the more cup finals you reach. I mean, Chelsea have reached so many cup finals that there's a good chance that one of our top players is going to miss a crucial one. We've reached so many FA Cup finals and League Cup finals. There's a good chance that we're going to end up with a record, which I think we have now, as the only team that have lost 3 consecutive FA Cup finals. Well, I'd rather be there, first of all.
Yes.
So it's not a tag I'm totally disappointed with. There's a lot of... I mean, Spurs would love to reach 3 FA Cup finals on the trot. They would definitely lose all 3. But
I think they would be happy if the full Members' Cup returned, to be honest, at this rate, I think.
That's more their level now, isn't it? Yeah. So there we go.
One nagging issue that was brought on in the cup final yesterday that a lot of people was wondering as Tuchel lost a plot, and then we've come to find out later on the actual situation, was Timo Werner. Now...
that was strange, wasn't it?
He was named on the bench. He was warming up. He was warming up for quite a bit, and he still didn't come on. We come to find out later on that Timo told Thomas that he was not fit to play. He's picked up an injury, whatever.
I think he said he felt when he was warming up.
He felt something in his hamstring.
He felt a tweak in his hamstring. I mean, I don't know whether that's just being incredibly responsible and professional, or whether he wasn't up for it. I don't know. But I mean, the Chelsea subs were warming up for 15, 20 minutes.
Massive, yeah.
So maybe,
Saul that was sort of warming up as well for a while, and then you thought he might sort of come on. And I mean, Christ, no one would have been surprised if he came on over rather than Barkley. But
yeah, Now it was Timo Werner. His fresh pace would have definitely have been a big plus point if Tuchel had brought him on. So he was one that I was disappointed didn't come on. But obviously we now know why.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't know until the end.
Because also at the time, Alexander-Arnold was lacking. He was showing frailties a little bit because he was losing the ball quite a bit, and he wasn't running. He didn't have the pace that he normally has. And I just, again, hindsight being a wonderful thing. If Werner came on, there would be only one winner out of that.
Yeah, and I think with the Liverpool starting to tire, that would have been a great opportunity to have brought him on. I kept thinking to myself, I know we're looking tired, but let's try and up the pace with some fresh legs, and by doing that, bring on our pacey subs. And again, frustrated that didn't happen. And the game inexorably came to its turgid conclusion. So there we go. What can you do? I mean, game's all about ifs and maybes, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? Ultimately, we've lost the cup final. We have to move on. But yeah, it's good to analyse it because you need to convince yourself, that there's we still, we've lost the cup final, but we're not going to lose this war. We've got a new owner now. We've got a new era upon us. I mean, I'm getting on a bit now, but I think over the next 10 years, if we can get the stadium sorted out, have the reset that we're going to have, we're still, Chelsea have always had the potential to be the biggest club, not only in London, but in England, and definitely one of the elite clubs of the world. They've still got that potential. It's all there. So that's the sort of thing I think about when we lose a little battle like the FA Cup Final.
Well, I was thinking about it when I got on the tube. It took me a while to get out of the ground, and I didn't want to be immediately going out the ground because I did want to applaud the Chelsea players as they were going round. With the fans. I weren't bothered the fact that Liverpool were celebrating. I'm just glad that whoever was doing the music.
Yeah, I found that very uncomfortable to watch.
I was glad they didn't play "You'll Never Walk Alone" like they did in the League Cup final because I thought that took the piss. But I was happy to applaud the players when they were doing.
Well done. Yeah.
Parade because I thought they deserved it. Again, it's a cup final, and
no, that's good.
They tried. People like Thiago Silva. He's 37. He's won near enough everything in football. That would have hurt him yesterday.
Yeah.
And for me, as a fan, and again, difference in ages in terms of like Chelsea supporters, this one didn't hurt as much as last year or the one against Arsenal.
No.
The Arsenal one, we should have won because that was a poor Arsenal side. It was under Frank. We were 1-0 up. And we blew it. And the Leicester game, we didn't turn up at all. No. That was a real poor performance from us.
But we're also the victim of two awful refereeing decisions in both those cup finals, and it could have been different. Against Arsenal, I thought we were brilliant in the first half, certainly the first 20, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then obviously it all went a bit pear-shaped. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, but I think all three have hurt me on an equal basis. I mean, the 2017 when we could have won the double under Conte.
That hurt me.
That was another.
That hurt me a lot.
That probably frustrated me more than the last three. The simple reason that we were on verge to do the double. Yeah. And we didn't turn up for that one either.
No, and that was another dodgy referee.
And we had another dodgy referee decision.
Yeah.
So, this is how it is. It's again, it's that sort of bittersweet pill we have to take as football fans. But like I say, we do reach cup finals, and may long may that continue.
Well,
and you can't win it unless you're there.
Exactly.
So we've got to get there again next year. And the year after, and we're gonna win it again.
We will win it again. Just depends on when. But
yes.
I know for a fact we will win it before Tottenham ever get to another final. That's for sure. But
that's a certainty.
It's a certainty. I do want to end on a positive though. And you mentioned about the new owners. You mentioned about Todd Bowley, who was there yesterday, which was pretty good to see.
Yeah.
It's quite refreshing to see an owner of a football club being at the games. We've not seen that much with Roman for obvious reasons.
Yes,
but I was looking, getting out of the ground and sort of trying to head home, and I'm trying to think of the positives surrounding Chelsea. And as you said, you have to get to the final to win it in the first place. And you've mentioned it there as a good point that the reset button needs to be pressed, because I think that I think Tuchel deserves at least another season at least. I know there's a few question marks from certain Chelsea fans about him, and I've been very judgmental on him on certain decisions, like yesterday and before. But I think he does deserve at least another season. He needs fresh backing, and I think he needs to make his own decisions when it comes to the transfers personally. And there's a lot of players that are going to leave that club and should leave that club. the likes of Alonso, who wants to go, Christensen, who I've got no doubt in my mind will leave the club. Cesar, there's rumours that he actually wants to leave the club despite having that 1 year triggered.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to sort out at that club, but it's not as bad as what it is at Man United. We are still in a good position. If we finish
there's always that silver lining, isn't there?
We could still finish third, which isn't. I know people sort of
absolutely.
say it's bad, and that's not a bad season compared to what it was last season in the league, because we relied on Tottenham for us to finish in the Champions League places. This season is different.
And let's not forget, we have won the. We are world champions.
We're world champions. We've won the Super Cup.
We did win the Super Cup. So it hasn't been a disastrous season at all.
No,
it's been a frustrating season more than a disastrous one because of what we could have achieved.
Yes,
and I think that's just the way circumstances have played out this season in terms of injuries and the sanctions. For me, it's more a frustration than being down. I'm not down about Chelsea at all. I think we're in a great place. We now have the ownership resolved, albeit I think the government has still got to. I think the government still got to officially.
They've got to approve it. They still have to approve it. So.
I can't see that being a problem. I mean, I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if that's a problem. But it gives us a chance to reset. I think the future for the. I mean, I've been following Chelsea. Oh God, I'm going to show my age now. But I've been following Chelsea since 1967. Well, watching Chelsea since 1967. And I think when you have that kind of perspective, I certainly don't go into meltdown these days like I did back then, because when I was obviously as a kid, I used to cry when Chelsea lost. I mean, there were literally tears in my eyes. As a child, I'd run up to my bedroom and slam the door, and I don't want to talk to anyone. Now I get very philosophical about it because I've got a lot of perspective. But of course, I'm also in a world of the social media where you just read stuff and you think these people need counselling.
Yes.
The way they're reacting to the odd defeat, because I mean we've only lost 5-6 games this season in the Premier League. I mean that would have been absolutely fantastic 30 years ago. So I get very philosophical, which means I think we've got a great future, because I think with the new ownership now, we've now got an owner. I mean Roman Abramovich, I got plenty of gratitude to him and what he's done. I mean, I would never ever demonise the man. I know he associated himself with Putin, but I don't think for 1 minute he was all. He was for this invasion of Ukraine. I mean, his family come from Ukraine, for God's sake. But because he associated himself with Putin, there was no choice but to sanction him. But obviously, they, as usual, the government go one stage further and ruin it for the fans by, punishing them as well. But anyway, that's another subject. But I think we're in a situation now. We've got new owners, and he's an owner who's welcome. He's not persona non grata. He's now visiting the club. He's visited Cobham. I saw a picture of him chatting to Emma Hayes yesterday.
Yes.
And Emma Hayes was looking quite happy and flirty with him. And I believe he's met Tuchel, hasn't he? And,
yes, he has. Yeah.
And he's So I mean, and I hear good things. In fact, I was walking down the Wembley Way on the way back after the game yesterday, and there was a guy. Actually, it was Benjamin Lawrence. A guy called Benjamin Lawrence. Well, I didn't realise
he's a follower of the podcast as well. I
didn't realise it was Benjamin.
We like Benjamin,
and we just started chatting. It was only when I started reading some posts that he said, "Oh, I enjoyed the chat." I went, "Oh, it was you," but no, he's. I think he said that he's worked. I think he said he worked for an American company, and they were very much aware of Todd Bowley and some of the great things he's done with the Dodgers and everything else. But he was very positive about it, which was good. So I think we need a reset, and I think the days of an owner throwing big parcels of 60, 70 million pounds just to take us that step closer to buying an elite player. I think those days are gone. I think it will be a more sustainable ownership, which can't be a bad thing. And I just think we need a bit of patience as well. It still may take Todd a couple of years really to get things going. So I would give, and I think the days of sappy managers at the slightest problem, I think those days have got to come to an end. And I think we've got to give Tuchel a good term, a bit like Liverpool have given Klopp. Because Tuchel will learn from his. I mean, Tuchel is the sort of manager that will learn from his mistakes, and we got to. Personally, I'd sign him. I'll give him a new contract tomorrow, and let's go for it. Let's have a plan for the next 3 years. That's the way I look at it. I think the future's actually quite good. I noticed with my group of friends yesterday that we all seem quite positive about the future. So, yeah, I suppose the thing is not to keep going on social media and looking, reading a complete opposite stance to that. But that's up to me. That's up to me to do that. I've got to try and resist reading them because some of them make me laugh. They're so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And others, of course, make you more angry. But no, mate, I think the future's blue and the future is going to be good.
I think we'll be fine, despite what happened yesterday. I don't think there's any issues with when it comes to the players. You made a good point about the days of Chelsea overspending, 35 on Drinkwater, 30 on Bakayoko, and 60 on Morata. I think those days have gone.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it,
it's not a bad thing.
If anyone was to read the accounts at Chelsea Football Club, they'd have a seizure. I mean, it's not sustainable.
No.
And I think the good thing that will come from this is that we'll start to nurture a bit more. I mean, we've started to do that when we, bringing some of the young players through. But as a football club, we need to nurture a bit more, and that will include, of course, redeveloping the stadium. And that is going to take some of the finances as well and time. I mean, I don't know what the plans are. I mean, I still would prefer to redevelop the ground as it is, sort of knock down the hotel, raise up the height of the shed, make it a single tier stand. But there's obviously planning problems there, health and safety. But I'm sure there's a way it could be done. But of course, Todd Burley might decide he wants to rebuild the stadium completely, which means we could be out. We could be playing somewhere else for 3 or 4 years while that's done, as would have happened if Roman's new stadium plans had gone through.
Hotspur Stadium, I'm happy.
Oh, yeah, mind you, that's a fantastic stadium.
It's a great stadium, I think
it's a stadium that would suit a quality elite club like Chelsea.
Yes. Definitely not Tottenham, though.
No.
Let's end it on a good note. As you said, Joe, there are some positives to take from Chelsea as a whole rather than individual results. We've got an owner in place now, potentially once the government get their asses in gear and approve it. The academy's still there, which is producing some fantastic players, and even the under-9s won their European competition a couple of weeks ago. So, my God, even from under-9s, they're still winning. So,
blimey, that one went past me.
It's an unbelievable.
I didn't even know we had an under-9s.
Unbelievable achievement. The under-9s winning their European competition,
fantastic.
and also you've got the women's that are playing today as well.
Yes,
in the FA Cup Final.
Yes.
We forgot to mention that.
Obviously, good luck to them as well today. I mean, that would be that would really be great rehabilitation if the Chelsea women won their FA Cup Final today. So yeah,
and it would be the double for them as well because they won the league
and it'll be the double
last week as well. So
yeah.
Good luck to Emma Hayes and the team for that. And Chelsea, don't worry. Let's not worry too much. Let Liverpool have their little moment. They're going to get spanked against Real Madrid, so it's fine. We've beaten Real Madrid before, so it's absolutely fine.
And we were brilliant. We were brilliant at the Bernabeu when we beat them 3-1. Even though we went out of the Champions League, we played brilliant that night, and that is the potential that this football club has.
Absolutely. Richard, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I'd love to have you on the show in the future, so we will
no problem.
sort something out.
Yeah.
But you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope all of you who have listened to this week have enjoyed their weekend as well. Keep the blue flag flying, stay safe and carefree.